We're using the SJ Wave 16-in-1 water test kit for this lab. This kit would be mostly used for testing drinking water or for aquarium or pool water. We have packages of test kits that have strips that are sort of familiar, like we would do pH testing, and then we have a color chart that we would be comparing all of the test strip colors to in order to identify the quantities of each of these different reagents that are present in the water we are sampling. This image shows a water test strip overlaid on a color chart for a bunch of different dissolved ions. This test strip is for distilled water, and because it's distilled, we expect that there isn't going to be much dissolved in the water other than perhaps some carbon dioxide, which also gives us some carbonate and a pH less than 7. From this test strip, it looks like we might have a tiny bit of chlorine and bromine present too. But with the carbon dioxide, you can see that we have a total alkalinity of approximately 20 milligrams per liter, carbonate of approximately 20 to 30 milligrams per liter, and a pH of about 6.0 or maybe even a little bit lower, which is consistent with other measurements that I've made of distilled water from our SMU distiller. This particular sample is one that I took from a sample of seawater that I collected in Croatia, I think outside of Split. That would make it the Adriatic, which is part of the Mediterranean Ocean. And even though these test strips are really just intended for freshwater, I thought it'd be a little bit more interesting if we could look at something that has more in it. And seawater definitely fits that category. So if we look at this test strip, we can see the total hardness is probably off the charts. It looks like it's at least that 425 milligrams per liter, and maybe it's higher than that, which makes sense for seawater. The chlorine comes in at around 2 to 3 milligrams per liter. We'll have to do some calculations to see how that lines up. We might have a little bit of this cyanuric acid, but mostly we have things a little bit later on. So it looks like bromine is probably around 8 to 10 milligrams per liter. Total alkalinity is about 40 to 50 milligrams per liter. Carbonate's pretty high, around 80 milligrams per liter, and the pH is around 7.4, maybe 7.6, which is a bit acidic for seawater, but this sample has also been sitting in plastic in this bottle for almost a year. This is a slightly shifted image of the test strip. I've moved it over onto the colors pieces, color squares, so that you can get a little bit of a better sense for what some of those numbers look like. I was mainly trying to line up the carbonate and the pH to do the color comparison there. It looks like carbonate might even be higher than we had originally interpreted, maybe around 120 milligrams per liter. And anyway, if you want, you can pause the video for a second and look at those colors. Go ahead and try and zoom in and see what you think about my interpretation.